Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear colleagues. It is my immense pleasure to welcome you today as we observe the World Food Day 2023. We are honored to have you all today in this important evening filled with discussions and deliberations on the critical topic of the role of water for food and nutrition security. We have planned a packed agenda for you today, so without further ado, I would like to deep dive into the evening. I would now like to request and invite Mr. Takayuki Hagiwara, FAO representative in India, to kindly share his opening remarks and officially open the event.
Namaste. My name is long, so always make this joke, right? So I go by Taka, T-A-K-A. It's like the currency of Bangladesh. So easy to remember my name. But another joke is that in Kenya, Swahili, if you call me Taka Taka, it means garbage. So just call me once, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, on behalf of the RBAs, Roma-based agencies, FAO, WFP, and IFAD, cordially, I welcome you all, and thank you very much for coming here to celebrate the World Food Day today. But before we start the program for the evening, I would like to ask you some questions. Do you know that agriculture accounts for how much percent of the global freshwater withdrawal? Let me repeat. Do you know agriculture accounts for how much percent of global freshwater withdrawal? He is too much. He's from the UMI, so he should know 70%. But some of the country goes like 90%. And our neighbor country, Pakistan, for example, 95%. So this varies a lot. Okay, second question. By what percentage is the water demand in agriculture expected to increase by 2050? Let me repeat. By what percentage is the fresh water demand in agriculture expected to increase by 2050? Sir, you are from the water expert, so you can answer every question. But I'm sorry to say that it's wrong answer. No? 35%. 35%. And the third question, do you know around 75% of all disasters from 2001 and 2018 were water-related, causing economic damage of nearly 700 billion. So that's the fact, 700 billion USD, not the rupee, USD. Finally, thanks for the Mr. Conwell. This is I got the number. Did you know that 50% of the India's net sown area is rain-fed? 50%. And that is making the vulnerable as it relies on the water from unpredictable weather. The role of the water in agriculture is vital. Let me show you what water can do. So, I'm sorry to step up a little bit. This is the water. I'm Picasso. I'm painter. I'm FAR, but a painter. Ta-da! So, you see the background over here. So, this year, the main theme of the World Food Day is water. Water is life, water is food, and leaving no one behind. The themes comes at the time when India as a leader of the global south, as you saw, as you witnessed in the G20. India is proactively promoting sustainable consumption of millets. As you see a lot from across the board, the government understands the issue related to water and its utmost importance in the agriculture and the food security. As we all know, the millets are less water intensive compared to the other crops and environmental friendly and nutritious cereal. So government India is one step ahead, couple of steps ahead compared to the other countries. However, availability, accessibility, and affordability of waters are still some of the serious concerns faced by India currently. India's current net zone area is estimated around 142 million hectares. Out of this, 28% is underground water irrigation, 20% is under surface irrigation, water canal irrigation, and 51% is rainfed. Depletion of the groundwater table is a serious concern for agriculture. Rain-fed areas are the mercy of the weather. The current climate crisis makes rain-fed cultivation more difficult. And climate change could potentially undermine food and nutrition security in India further. In recent years, we have faced extreme weather patterns, excessive drought, flood, and rains. We might lose the control over water, which is very based on our sustenance. The water loss is food loss. Without the water, there will be no agriculture and no life. So today, I urge you all to highlight the urgent need to protect, conserve, regulate the use of water. Unfortunately, the FAO India does not currently have a very specific project targeting the water scarcity issues. However, within the FAO as a whole, we have numerous projects related to water. We will show you in the video later today that in that video, we will show you that toward the end of today's celebration, we will touch upon a little bit the water-related issues that we do. But rest assured that we are committed to expanding our efforts in this area. We really need to think, reflect, and act on the issue of water for food security. And today, I urge you that we will all commit ourselves to make India water sufficient. Food, nutrition secure, and leaving no one behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Taka, for such an engaging opening remarks. It is now my privilege to welcome our chief guest, Professor Ramesh Chand, a distinguished member of the NITI Aayog, serving in the esteemed rank of the Union Minister of State. He is also the chairperson of the Institute of Economic Growth, New Delhi. With a PhD in agricultural economics from the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi, Professor Ramesh Chand's expertise is renowned both nationally and internationally. He was a member of the 15th Finance Commission. He is also a member of the Board of Trustees of International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center, Mexico, Australian Center for International Agricultural Research, Canberra, and the World Economic Forum. Dear guest, please join me in extending a warm and a hearty Welcome to Professor Ramesh Chand as he graces us with his presence and expertise on this very important day. Let's give him a round of applause as he makes his way to deliver his keynote speech for the evening. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Takayuki Hagibara, head of FAO in India, Mr. Ulas, head of IFAD in India, and Ms. Elizabeth, head of WFP in absentia, and Dr. Sikka, panelist, my colleague, Dr. Neelam Patel, Sinha ji, and I see many familiar faces participating in this important event on World Food Day. Takasan, I have come for this event after a gap of nearly a decade. Before that, we used to come to enjoy the drinks which UN agency used to organize some snacks and drinks in the evening on World Food Day almost every year. I don't know what happened in last 8-9 years, but I'm happy that you are organizing, you and other two Rome-based UN agencies. They are organizing this World Food Day. I really congratulate all three agencies for their multiple roles in food security. These agencies, I would say, led by FAO, this is my judgment, and supported by WFP and IFAD, played a very important role, first in attaining food security, then in sustaining food security, and once these things were done, in improving food security. I feel that World Food Day is the day when we should reflect upon what are our achievements related to food, what is the status of food security, nutrition security, and what are the challenges to our food security. And when we talk of challenge, then you will find that to my mind again, two biggest challenge to food security comes one from water and another from climate change. Though there is a nexus between water and climate change, but if one has to say what are the major two challenges, then I would say that the major two challenges are water and climate change, but how they play the role that differs in many ways. I think it is because of these challenges that FAO in its several documents, it just says that by 2050, we would require 70% more food compared to what we were producing in the base period 2005 to 7. Then I just did a calculation that if we require 70% more food by 2050 for population which will be a little more than 900 crores or 9 billion people on the planet, how much growth it will require. And that comes to about 1.45% compound growth rate or trend growth rate. Then I also find that in India, our agriculture is growing at 3.5%. We have a sleeping planet, Africa, where we have not even forget about realizing full potential. Even Green Revolution has not yet reached there. That 1.45% growth rate turns out to be 1 percentage point less than what is the rate of growth in the world food production at present. The last 10-year growth rate is 2.5%. So generally you consider something as a challenge if you want to achieve something bigger than what you are achieving right now. So why in the case of food that we want to achieve a growth rate which is just 60% of the growth rate that we are experiencing, but still everybody says it is a challenge. I think the reason is this water and climate change. And so far, science has helped us to largely address these challenges. And you might find many people saying that 30 years back, 20 years back, I saw a paper coming from IRI or coming from climate change experts who said that in next 20 years, wheat yield because of rising temperature will come down by 10%, 15%. Different people made different kind of projection, but actual yield has been increasing. So is it that those climate experts were wrong, or how do you explain it? I think it is very important to explain it. In fact, if climate change was not there, then the increase in yield which we have realized in wheat, it would have been much more. So in the last 20, 30 years, it is the science which has helped us in countering the adverse effect of climate change. And also, coming to water, I will speak in little more detail. But I think first, if I remove one challenge, then it is easy to discuss the other challenge. So science has helped us so far very effectively in countering the adverse effect of climate change on our food production. Still, climate change has been visible in terms of shocks in production, and we have seen in year 2022 how much beet production suddenly declined because of terminal heat. It came down in a very significant way. Quality was also less. Ministry of Agriculture says that instead of 112 million ton, we harvest 105 ton. But let me tell you a story of my own farm. I own a farm in Punjab and I still go there. And I have interest in that. It is a 20-acre farm. The story at my farm was that normally we used to get on an average 16 to 18 quintal per acre. But in year 2022, we got only 5 to 6 quintal per acre. And even that 5 to 6 quintal, nobody would buy if FCI was not there because grain size was so shriveled. Its color was changed that if private player was to buy, the price would have been 50% less. But we have a system to support farmers and we were able to sell it by providing incentive to FCI inspectors. So, so you can imagine that, that at macro level we didn't see the impact, but at micro level, just this terminal heat in the month of late March, early April was so strong that it reduced yield to 1/3. So if that is the kind of situation, and once the effect spread from pockets to larger area, then you can imagine what will be the impact. Then second is that diversity in different varieties set the limit up to which science can counter the adverse effect of climate change. You know, there is a genetical factors that you can raise height of plant, you can increase size of grain, depending upon the potential that nature has created in the family of a particular species, you can do up to that. So it is possible that by picking some of the cultivars of wheat, you can develop varieties, and already IRI has developed a variety which can counter the increase in temperature maybe to the extent of 1.5 degrees Celsius or maximum 2 degrees Celsius. But once you reach that point, that is a tipping point, and then that will not let you, uh, not only drastic change in yield, maybe you will not be able to grow some kind of crops, and you have to then look at millet and other kind of crops, which again have a tipping point, which again have their own kind of limits. So climate change really is one challenge. Second is the challenge of barter, which is manifesting in many ways, which is again related to so many things. It is related to even technology, it is related to varieties, it is related to policies, and it is also related to climate change, incentive, disincentive, and so many kind of things. So before I come to water, I want to highlight and share one more thing with you, which I said that World Food Day is the day when we should reflect on the challenges and what is the current status. If you look at the data for last, say, 30 years, around 1980, the global hunger, the way FAO measure it, started showing a downward trend, and that trend was visible, even clearly visible, even in case of India, and subsequently even in Africa for some years, the hunger and undernutrition declined. But situation started changing around year 2013-14. Initially in Africa, that food security started deteriorating. Percent of population that is undernourished, deprived of calorie, which FAO also call hungry, that started showing increase in absolute numbers, also in terms of percent. Then it spread to Latin America, and country like Brazil, which have achieved the goal of zero hunger, they found that hunger is back in Brazil, hunger is back in Mexico, hunger is back in most of the Latin American countries. And last 3-4 years, you find that hunger is back, according to FAO estimates, even in case of South Asia, including India. You find that both the percent of people who are undernourished, according to FAO, which reached 14 percentage of the total percent of total population. In last 3-4 years, it has increased to 16 point some percent. Similar kind of trend you see in Bangladesh, etc., etc. And if I have to sum up the story for the entire world, it is like this, that among the developing country in the last 5 years, either the improvement in food security has halted, like in Indonesia and Thailand, or it has deteriorated. It has not improved in any of the developing country. So this is one adverse development which has happened, and this development has happened despite the fact that world is producing more food per capita. That trend was there. Now the question arises, if world is producing more food per capita even during the last 5 years, why the hunger increased? This requires deeper study, but based on the preliminary data which I could look more deeply in India, more empirically in India, but just looking at general kind of trend at global level, the reason seems to be that the cost of food in last couple of years has increased substantially, unprecedented kind of increase in food prices, and because of which food is going beyond the reach of many people. That seems to be the explanation that why despite higher production per capita, the hunger is increasing, that there is increase in prices. Now the next question is, Why there is increase in prices? Again, when prices increase, there are so many reasons, but one reason is the increase in cost of production. Again, why there is increase in cost of production? You keep going. That is how science, uh, that um, uh, if you want to address any problem, ज्ञान का स्रोत सूक्ष्म से सूक्ष्मता की ओर you keep digging deeper and deeper, you will find the reasons. Then you will just find that earlier, if you require, say, 4 kg of nitrogen to produce A amount of grain, over time, the amount of nitrogen that you require to produce A amount of nitrogen is increasing, which means cost of production is rising. So why that cost of production is rising? I would say that these factors like climate change, factor like water, they have really started showing their impact, which is now visible as a signal. We will slowly see that it become stronger and stronger, and we need to address this. So if in the past we are able to neutralize the effect of climate change through science on at least availability, if not on access, we should not be going into the stage of complacence. There are serious issues related to food which we need to discuss and find some solutions. Now, coming to water, water is important not only for food, but even if we want to counter the effect of climate change, then also you require water. Temperature बहुत बढ़ गया, what is the solution? Irrigation लगा दो. That is the way that you keep soil cool. That is the way you just help plant to tolerate the stress. It is just like human. Garmi bahut hai nahalo. So same thing apply to livestock and also to the plant. So water has been helpful and water is required to first fight this climate change, to at least some extent adapt to climate change, increase in temperature. Then secondly, when climate change happen, again, you require more water use to produce the same amount of food because evaporation is high, all those things. So then water requirement because of that start increasing for same amount of production. And then as Taka-san mentioned that through that question that 70% water is used in agriculture, in India the figures is close to 90%. So if 90% water is used by agriculture, if anything happened to water, the biggest impact will be felt on water. In India, why this stress on water has increased over time? There are a couple of reasons, and from those reasons we can find that if we have to address this challenge, the answer also lies in those factors which has aggravated this situation. First of all, if you look at the changes in cropping pattern, the area under water intensive crop has increased in proportionate terms, not in absolute terms, because gross cropped area has increased, so area can increase even otherwise also. But if you look at the percent share of water intensive crops like rice, like sugarcane, you will find that last 30-40 years, there is a big increase in area under water intensive crops. And the rice, because of its technological superiority, because of government support for rice, you find that wherever water goes, rice comes running there. And if you see the state of Telangana, I think last 7 or 8 years, area under rice in Telangana has increased by more than 30%. So that is the kind of situation that wherever water comes, you develop irrigation, so rice will come there. So you develop some irrigation system with this calculation, that maize is being grown there, bajra is grown there, cotton is grown there, soybean is grown there. So if you are creating irrigation, you will be adding 100 or say 1 lakh hectares. But once rice comes, he says, no, no, I require much more water than my sister and brothers. So you can't increase it by that your calculation of 1 lakh hectare. Maybe you can go only up to 30,000 hectare or 40,000 hectare. So one factor which has put stress on water is the changes in cropping pattern toward water intensive crops. Then second is the shift in production practices toward water intensive practices. So we have Dr. Neelam Patel, she's from Water Technology Center. So she understands better than anyone else that how over time, if you look at how much area was under direct seeded rice 30 years back and how much of it is now, you will find that wherever you get irrigation, hardly anybody go for direct seeded rice. They will go for this transplanted rice under submergence conditions, those kind of things. So the second change which has happened is the shift toward water intensive crops. The third is that modern consumer is not willing to adjust to any situation. He just feel that he can pay for it and he will consume whatever he or she wants. We have forgotten this concept brought back by our Prime Minister of Lifestyle for Environment, that we want to eat all fruit and vegetable in all the seasons, forgetting that nature has created some season for it. So we want to say eat peas in the month of May, June, July, when it is most difficult to produce peas. And we would like to eat cucurbits in peak winter when generally cucurbit doesn't grow. And even if tomato is not there for 2 months, there is a crisis created. These are not the crises created by production. These are the crises created by shift in demand and consumer preference, that we want to have everything throughout the year. In summer also, I want fresh peas. In winter, I want summer vegetables. So then you buy it at a higher price, so there's a premium price. So you just find that production season shift toward off-season vegetables. So once you start growing peas in the month of April, May, June, it will require maybe 10, 20 times more water than the peas which is grown in the winter season from November to month of March or April. So this is the third factor which I think put more and more pressure on this water resources. To meet these kind of requirements, certain changes has happened in the water sector in India and at many other places also. One big change which we observed is that if you see in India, in the total area under irrigation, what is the share of surface water irrigation, what is the share of groundwater irrigation, you find big increase in share of groundwater irrigation. Less and less dependence on surface water, canal irrigation. Everybody wanted reliable source of irrigation. Irrigation which is under control in the hand, that you press the button and you get the irrigation. If it is canal, then you have to apply brain, you have to wait. You have to think my turn will come after 10 days. So how I plan various operation, how I plan my crops so that I get water with so much interval like that. All those things are gone. Today's farmer just want that he do things at the press of the button, like in all spheres of life. So this dependence on groundwater increased like anything, and people are chasing water not only up to 200 feet, 300 feet, more than 1,000 feet. And sometimes people say jokingly that way we are tracing water, maybe one day we will harness US water. just going to extreme. So that is happening to groundwater, and that has consequences, serious consequences, that deeper the aquifer, more difficult to replenish it. Deeper the aquifer, more are the possibilities of salts which are there getting into water. So quality issues and water table going down. That is the first thing which we experience. The second thing which we are experiencing is that there is a decline in the watershed, in the forest, vegetation, etc., felling of trees. So you just find because of that the water that used to be there in rivers and water streams over time is declining. Many rivers dry up before draining into the sea. If you look at area under clear indication available, traditional system of irrigation in hill area, somewhere you call them cool, somewhere you call them gul, that their number drastically declined. You don't see the cools which used to be there, water stream, when you go to Shimla or when you go to, say, Nainital. On the way, you used to see those water streams there throughout. Now you just see them only, some of those in the rainy season, some of them for a very short period. Even water which is coming in them is declining. So all these things because of decline in health of watershed. Then third is, again, Taka-san asked this question that irrigation intensity in India. In fact, now in year 1920, we have 53% area under irrigation. And last 6-7 years, there has been a big increase in area under surface irrigation. Before that, for 20 years, it was stagnant. But my projection is that now we have 55% area under irrigation. So that is also a factor which is contributing to stress on water sources. So on one hand, you just find that demand for water is rising, but on the other hand, I share some statistics with you. This water availability, that the water which is usable is declining. Some philosophers say that whatever water was once available, same water is available. Neither a drop less nor a more, but the form in which it is available, the time when it is available. So they matter. So the form in which and the time at which it is available, if you just look at those, you just find that the possibilities of augmenting water sources are getting more and more limited. Especially about this surface water, so many conflicts are happening at local level, at state level, at national level, that every day you find something. Huh? Last week, Supreme Court of India just said that various governments spent thousands of crores of rupees on building Satluj Jamuna link canal, but now farmer have put soil in that and they are doing cultivation on that canal. A part of it, not everywhere in the state of Punjab. So you do something, and you know that passions are so high. Virtually, it is very difficult to do anything on ground. So these interstate differences and interstate approach of non-cooperation. This is again adding that our options to harness water are getting more narrower. This is visible everywhere, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kaveri water sharing. And I and Neelam, we are member of a state level committee on interlinking of rivers. I have now stopped going for their meeting. Incidentally, Ministry of Water Sources Additional Secretary could not come because I found that last 6-7 years, same agenda is continuing and two states are never agreeing to that water sharing, even though it is beneficial for both. Because everybody would say, I should be getting higher share, I should be getting higher share. So that is another factor that these interstate conflict, they are strict that even if water is there, we prefer water to go to sea rather than harnessing it and making use of it. So then other factor which is complicating the story, we all know that the power supply that is needed to pump out water, it is either highly subsidized or it is totally free. In most of the states, it is totally free. You pump out whatever water you want. You don't have to pay anything for that. And because of that, you find everywhere flood irrigation. There is no incentive to use efficient method of irrigation. As a result, sometimes we take pride in telling, you know what is our share in India's rice export? We are now exporting 25 million ton, 40% share in the world rice exporter. But friend, how much water goes with that? How much deprivation we are causing to our future generation that they will not have this water, which we are not valuing when we are exporting that. So India has attained a notorious distinction of being the biggest exporter of virtual water. Our share in global food export is not more than 3%, but our share in virtual water that get traded, is in double digit. So that is the kind of situation that since resources are not properly priced, so you just find that more and more exploitation is happening. So what are some of the possibilities that need to be explored? I think biggest is that even now, if we use water in efficient way, if I talk about India, I think that may be true in rest of the world also, because India is among the most water stressed countries. If we use water in efficient way, you will just find that there will not be any water stress. Even now, whatever situation we have reached. Let me give you example. We in India uses estimate vary. In some state it is 3,000 liter, in some state it is 4,000 liter of water to produce 1 kg of rice. But if you look at globally how much China is using, how much other countries are using, it is 1/3 of what India is using. In some of the crop, there is a famous paper by Hoekstra, that is the name. So he just put these number by major countries. So even in case of wheat, even in case of maize, the amount of water that in India we use to produce 1 ton of farm produce is 2 to 4 times that is used in other major agriculture country. Now its implication is very simple. If water use efficiency of India is same as that of China, that even if India bring 100% area under irrigation, we will have some surplus water. So if we really start moving in that direction, that is one of the options, through precision farming, through drip irrigation, sensor-based application. There are ways, so many ways. Maybe in the panel, Dr. Sikka, who is from International Water Management Institute, will share some of those things with us. So what we need to do is, I would say that first and foremost factor is that we need to improve water use efficiency. This is a low-hanging fruit. There are so many ways to improve water use efficiency, but to do that, we need to put proper kind of incentives in place. And if you do that, you will just find that even the cropping pattern will also respond to that kind of change, and much of the problem that is there, that can be addressed. So if we look at action taken by government are supposed to be responsible, that overall interest of society should be looked after by government. Except for policies of this pricing, I find that some action is happening everywhere, and you will also be knowing that we are creating big infrastructure for rainwater harvesting. PM gave a call for Amrit Sarovars to create 75 this water structure, either rejuvenate or develop new kind of water structure in every district. And we have created about 60,000. Yes, there are some exceptional cases where people to show their performance were found to be filling water by using too well. But by and large, I think at many places, you find that those kind of practices are helping in harnessing water. Khet ka pani khet mein, this is also being promoted. Gaon ka pani gaon mein, this is also being promoted. Groundwater recharges, and also best practices in water management there at some places. In fact, a few years back with previous FAOR, Shyam Khadka, he took me to some place in Andhra Pradesh where he showed to me farmer managed irrigation system. And that irrigation system was so much I would say scientifically planned with the help of FAO and some other agency was there, that in every village, depending upon what is the forecast for rain, they used to prepare water budgets, and the village community used to decide that in order to keep the water table at same level, what crop they will be growing. So everybody was growing those kind of crop, and they were growing crops based on water budgeting. They were monitoring water in their villages. So those are the kind of practices, and I think we need to move toward those direction, and that is possible only with the involvement of communities. So we need to involve community rather than looking always at the government as a my baap that doing everything. So that is second incentive. Water recycling is another thing which is being talked. Water neutrality. There is a NITI report which Dr. Mishra, who was working with me on water. So we talked to industry that what is the possible kind of thing we should do it. So what I want to say through these kind of thing is that government is aware of this, and some measures are being taken, but their impact is very, very small. The biggest effect is of this free power unless we change that policies. In fact, we suggested some models also that we are not saying that you tax farmer. We suggested a model that you pay to farmer in some other way, but price the power that is used for pumping out water, so that water is used appropriately where you find marginal cost equal to marginal return, something like that, and that can make a very big difference. So to conclude, I just find that UN General Assembly, it was in I think March or April 2018, they said that we start a decade of water, and we are exactly in the middle of that. It is from 2018 to 2028, and the first thing to address any challenge and problem is to sensitize the stakeholder, to sensitize the societies. So I think maybe ultimately we have to think like many consumer look for carbon footprint, that a consumer, when he buy a thing, he seeks or asks for what is the water footprint of this food I am buying. And if it is not using water efficiently, maybe as a consumer, I will send the signal back, sorry, I will not buy this food. So friends, I hope that human ingenuity has great scope. So there is a time for action now, and if we take action, we can address this problem of water even now. But if we do not wake up at this stage, then it may be too late. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that engaging and such a thought-provoking speech. No wonder we, as consumers and everyone else, we need to ponder upon the thoughts that you just mentioned it to us. And like we have seen, without water, there's no life, no food. And as you can see, the painting is all gone on the easel. So moving ahead, we now enter into another engaging part of the event, a discussion on the water for food and nutrition security. I kindly invite on stage our chief guest, Professor Ramesh Chand, who is the chair of the panel, Mr. Franklin L. Kobung, Joint Secretary, Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Ms. Archana Verma, Additional Secretary and Mission Director, National Water Mission, Ministry of Jal Shakti, and Dr. Alok Sikka, Country Representative of the International Water Management Institute in India. And the moderator for our discussion is Dr. Ulaj Demirag, Country Director and Representative, IFAD.
So I request all the panelists to come on the stage.
So, good afternoon, and thank you so much, Professor, for this very, very interesting and real-life remarks. You should have been introduced as a farmer, first of all. Because this was really hands-on knowledge, I think, that you shared. But, you know, the major takeaways, I think, so far that water is really a critical resource for food and nutrition security. And you know, a diverse and complex country such as India, such a huge country, of course, has to deal with nexus between water, food, and environmental issues. I will not repeat some of the data, but one of the key takeaways so far was that climate change really, to me as you know, a geographer by background, climate change on the one hand increases the temperature and makes certain crops viable in the long run or not viable, but most and foremost, it really increases the volatility of the system. Well, and we are seeing more and more really extreme events, extreme droughts, longer dry spells, floods, you know, very often these devastating events, and water is almost always involved. And as Professor Chand explained, somehow this volatility, this climate change also translates in higher production costs. Right? And so a lot of the higher cost, the increasing cost is attributed to climate change. So of course, one of the big worries from IFAD's point of view is of course that the largest part of farmers in India are smallholder farmers. And I suspect that they are even more affected by some of these dynamics than others. But I'm really pleased to moderate this this panel with a number of distinguished panelists, thought leaders, policymakers, practitioners, and who can share with us their substantive knowledge and practical experience really in this field. So really looking forward to hearing from you all. Professor Chand, you are the chair of this panel. I hesitate to invite you to give opening remarks again because I think maybe I want to give you a little break, but maybe request you after the discussion to summarize. And with this, we have very little time, so I would like to first of all introduce our first speaker just right next to me, Mr. Franklin Kobung from the Ministry of Agriculture. He's Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare since 2022. Before that, he was the Chief Conservator in the Forest in the government of Gujarat, and before this he was holding this position as the Director in the Ministry of Ayush. So, Mr. Kobung, maybe I'll just invite all the speakers to maybe state their perspective of the topic of the day, which is basically water and food security. Maybe I can invite you to take the floor. Is it not working? Did you hear me?
Would you mind to switch on the mic, please? Would you mind to switch on the mic, please?
Oh, maybe you come here? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, extremely thankful to Sir, Member NITI Aayog. I think the speech he gave us a very detailed insight on, water, food security, as far as our country is concerned. I think that for our country, we have achieved food security with the Green Revolution, followed by the White Revolution. Like Sir said, we have achieved now 2.5 to 2.6% growth in agriculture sector. So we are doing fairly good. But behind this, like we discussed, water holds a very important part of agriculture. Maybe 90% of the country's water resource is being utilized in agriculture sector. And so behind this increase in production, productivity, and this food security lies very, very important factor, that is water, apart from other aspect of agriculture. As far as irrigation is concerned in our country, like we discussed, 50% of the net sown area only is still irrigated, and that is utilizing 90% of the country water resource. And ministry from, Madam is here from Ministry of Jal Shakti, even for this irrigated, cultivated area, I think about 67 to 70% of the irrigation source is from the surface water only. The rest of the source is from the underground water. And from the Ministry of Agriculture side, we promote micro irrigation, that is to promote efficient use of water in agriculture. In micro irrigation, more than 90%, close to 100%, the water source is from underground water, and hardly anything comes from the surface water. So these are some of the challenges which we have in hand, though we have achieved comfortable food security in our country. And like we discussed, climate change, again, is a very important factor that is impacting the water availability for agriculture also. Our ICR is reporting that if we don't take any adaptation and mitigation measures, the productivity in agriculture can simply reduce to 9 to 10% at this point in time. So these are the challenges which we are facing. And Ministry, I will not take so much long time. Ministry of Agriculture is implementing a National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture from 2010, which was launched under National Action Plan for Climate Change, NAPCC of the country. And through that, now we have identified 10-11 mitigation and adaptation measures in which water conservation, efficient use of water in agriculture is the major focus. For example, in micro irrigation, which we are promoting in a big way, in 1980, the area covered under micro irrigation was just 1,500 hectare. Now we are close to 15 million hectare in the country now. And the kind of achievement, I think, which we have seen, and also through various reports, through various institutions like NITI Aayog also, the water use efficiency, the water savings, the increase in productivity as far as micro irrigation is concerned, I think this is something which is not a choice but a necessity now. And the task force report which was set up by the ministry saying that we have 69 million hectare, that is the potential area of micro irrigation. And we are now at about 15 hectare, that's close to 20% of the potential area. So we need a lot to do, but then we have achieved a lot also at the same time. And I think to end my remarks, like Sir had elaborated very well, I think responsible production and consumption I think that is the area in which we should move on in order to, achieve food security. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kobung. Ms. Archana Varma, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Ms. Archana Varma is AIS officer and mission director of the National Water Mission in the Ministry of Jal Shakti. She has vast administrative experience in public governance, including management of rural, urban, and local bodies, women empowerment, education at the grassroots level, and human resource management. She's also a policymaker, and she contributed significantly to policies on vigilance, health, and water at the highest levels. Maybe I would like to invite you to give your perspectives on today's theme.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Ramesh Chand, sir, moderator. I'm having difficulty in pronouncing your name. Franklin and Dr. Sekka and dear participants. First of all, I'm grateful to the speakers before me because they have taken away the shine from all that I was to say. All the statistics has been poured out, and especially Ramesh Chand's speech. I don't know what else to contribute. So I was thinking I'll put down the paper and be a little poetic. You see, in the Rig Veda, water is always referred to as waters. In the plural, it is called apas, never up. So water to our ancestors was never seen as, distinct from the ecosystem till we domesticated it, like we domesticated the animals and brought it down to pipes and, for civilizational purposes. We got it for irrigation, we got it for drinking water. So the major challenge is not the environment. I feel the major challenge to water is us, as Sir pointed out, that this unbridled consumerism, industrialization, urbanization, where water is not respected like it was respected before by our ancestors. Like, civilizations grew around water. It grew around water. There was the spatial ecology of water. It wasn't that, we built towns to dominate the water space. Water space was allowed to be flown like it flew, sans boundaries and all, and civilizations grew as part of the ecology. So the greatest threat, climate change threat, is also a lot of it, as we all know, is because of the carbon gas emissions and is mostly man-made. So first of all, if we want the water to nourish us and to make India food and water secure, first thing we have to bring back is respect for water. Like I always say, like we respect mandir, masjid, gurudwara, church, we have to respect water. And that respect will, allow us to do the other things. So in 2019, Honorable Prime Minister is a water champion. And he realized that this, siloed approach to water will not work, and he merged the departments in 2019. Department of Water Resources and Drinking Water Supply was merged into the Ministry of Jal Shakti, he called it Shakti. And so he gave it an integrated approach. That was the first initiative that Government of India took to look at water, because it's a state subject, but a national concern. So to look at water holistically. And that is the first move and step that he made. And then a slew of schemes was launched in which he put community as the center. In all his speeches and all his Man Ki Baat, if you listen, he says that the water problem cannot be solved by, talking in this UN room. It cannot be solved by think tanks, by academicians, by bureaucrats, by field level officers, by UN agencies. It can only be solved by the people. So he said that for us to become water secure, we have to learn to respect our traditional water heritage structures, which has shown the way, and not just, what colonization has brought us, man versus nature debate, where you just capture water and build dams and build massive irrigation projects that were all needed at that time, because India and the world had to grow at a certain pace. But now, as Professor Ramesh Chand has rightly pointed out, if we keep growing in that unbridled manner, then there will be a time by 2050. We are already a water stressed country. Our per capita availability of water is only 1623 or something meter cube. And 1700 is the Falcon mark water stress situation. So India is already a water stressed nation. So what he did was, in each of the schemes he got launched, be it the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, Catch the Rain under the National Water Mission, or the Namami Gange program, or the Atal Bhujal Yojana, or the Jal Jeevan Mission, or the Swachh Bharat mission, because water and sanitation is also correlated. He always emphasized on community. So for us, under the, I am the MD of National Water Mission, which was launched subject to, post the conference which was held in Paris or Dublin. And there were 9 missions launched. There was solar mission, sanitation mission, health mission. But most of the missions, many of the missions took off, but water mission didn't take off despite being launched in 2011. It was only in 2019, after PM, because perhaps he comes from Gujarat, which is a water-stressed nation. I was allotted Assam Kada. I come from Bihar. I always used to leave the tap open, never realizing kya pani kya hai, usko pe paisa kyun mang raha hai, when I was in Delhi. So, that community is central to any water management. And second is what the National Water Policy 2012 has also spoken about, and now we are hammering it with the states, that we have to have a non-siloed approach to water. And you'll be happy to know that many of the states, even Haryana, Punjab, Odisha, Maharashtra being the leader, has formed the State Water Regulatory Authority, wherein water is looked at in a non-siloed, non-verticalized approach. Even inside the ministry, all our IEC, all our communications now, generally National Water Mission is the in charge for IEC and awareness. And we don't only promote the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, we promote all the other missions, because we feel that it's time we stopped talking about water as water and started talking about water as waters, and bring that respect back to water and make it, an entity which is part of us. I mean, half of our body, 70% of our body is water. And as they say, you can live without love, but you cannot live without water. Thank you.
Thank you so much for these very spontaneous remarks, and I think it added a lot to our discussion. Dr. Alok Sikka is India's representative for the representative of the International Water Management Institute in India. He has a PhD in civil and environmental engineering with a specialization in hydrology and water resource engineering from Utah State University in the US. Dr. Sikka is a fellow of the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, and he has over 40 years of experience in research, but also in consultancy, in natural resource management and soil and water management. Of course, he's touching upon institutional and policy issues, and he is also a teacher, a trainer, and an extensionist. So over to you, Dr. Sikka, to hear from you your views on this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yulak and Professor Ramesh, my colleague and old friend, Madam Archana, Mr. Franklin, and my nice friend Taka, because I remember that the first time when he met, he said the same thing, that you remember the Taka in Bangladesh, so I remember your name, I will never forget about it. So now, of course, when you come to the tail end, as it says, you are talking about the water, and when the water is running the canal, the tail enders always have an issue. Either there is a deficit, you will not get, or sometimes you will get the excess amount of water. So either way is going to be a problem. So I know that most of fellow panelists and the chair has already spoken a lot about that. And coming to the challenge, I agree with what Professor Ramesh has said, because it starts with water, and be it in terms of the availability, accessibility, and affordability. Because there are regions where water is available, but it's not accessible or it's not affordable to access, and then the other way around. So those are the kind of the challenges depending upon location and the geography where you are. That's the first thing. And again, at the same time, with the climate change, which already has been spoken about that, and the way it alters the entire hydrologic cycle or the water cycle, that again further leads to reduced flows, or even if the flows are not reducing, the timing is changing. So that way, the water availability gets affected. So that's another kind of an impact, challenge which you are facing, which is led by the climate change, in addition to what he spoke about, the terminal heat and the evaporative demand. And as a result of that, what ultimately is happening, that otherwise also if you see, because of the changing cropping patterns and inefficient management of water, our water demand in the agriculture sector is growing day by day. So one side your demand is increasing, and on the other side, your supply side, because of the climate change, is dwindling. So as a result, the supply-demand gap is widening. So that's a kind of a challenge which really we are facing. And of course, apart from that, as I think, like you mentioned, one of the glaring thing, the challenge is the floods and the droughts, and of course the heat waves now. It's not that the floods and droughts were not there earlier. They were there earlier as well. But the frequency and the intensity and the spread has rather changed, because the areas which were not witnessing drought, they are witnessing drought, and the vice versa. And not only that, even in the same season, in the same year, the same area has both the things like floods and the drought. The place where Archana comes from, there are the cities in Bihar where half of the season in the monsoon you'll see the floods, and half of the time you'll see the drought. And that intensity is rather increasing. So these are the challenges which are really posing a whole lot of challenge. So these are the ones which are more towards the natural side. And then the one thing which is pretty much in our hand, that is the inefficient management of water. And that is one of the most critical and the important thing which perhaps is within our realm of affair that we can really look into. And it is not just only the government has to look into that, it's I, you, and all of us. And as Archana mentioned, it's a community responsibility as well. So unless we take the community along, none of these natural resources can really be managed. So that's really a major challenge. Of course, besides the other programs which my colleagues have already mentioned, which the government has already initiated, including PM KSY, including Cash the Rain, and Jal Jeevan Mission, Atal Bhujal Yojana, NMSA, and so on and so forth. One initiative which the government has recently taken, that is establishing the Bureau of Water Use Efficiency, which Archana Madam is leading. And it has been going on for quite some time in the government. And I think you all should be happy that now it's very challenging. Again, the Bureau of Water Use Efficiency is highly challenging. it's a very highly challenging task to try and see. But I think it's a time that we have to take that bitter pill and see that how best the Bureau of Water Use Efficiency goes forward. And the way the Bureau of Water Use Efficiency has been put forward is not only just for the agriculture, but all the water-related sectors. Because we have to see there is interconnectivity across all of these things. And now finally, I would leave you with another challenge is that when we are looking into all these things in India, because about 65% of irrigation comes from groundwater, 64 or 63. And that uses about 20% of our energy which is used in India, goes into this agriculture sector, majorly in pumping water. So it is not that we are being only the inefficient in terms of water use, but also inefficient in terms of energy use. So the ultimate aim to bridge all these things is looking into how to improve the water productivity, energy productivity, and that would also lead to labor productivity and land productivity. And all these things have to be looked into within the framework of, as Professor was mentioning, water, energy, and food nexus, but what we say with the climate lens now. So I think I'll leave it over here for now, because as you know, professor and researchers, they don't look at time, they go on talking and talking. So I'll now stop over here, and maybe the second round when it comes, I'll be happy to say.
Thank you so much, dear panelists. I'm afraid we don't have really the time for a second round. I would just quickly invite the audience, maybe for 1 or 2 questions, if there are any, to the panelists.
They're all very convinced with what I already said.
I would have a long list of questions, but yeah.
Do we have a mic?
I thank you for the really very thoughtful discussions. I just have a question. I heard a lot about efficient use of water. So what are the efficient use of water, or whether such efficient use of water can be recommended to Government of India and to the state governments, so that it is implemented starting from the grassroots level? Because unless and until solutions are not presented to the government, how the work can be taken forward? That's my question, and anybody can answer it. Thank you so much.
I'll take it because I'm heading the Bureau of Water Use Efficiency, though the chairperson of the task force is Dr. Alok Sikka, who has just submitted the report. So this Bureau of Water Use Efficiency is going to be a game changer in, practicing water use efficiency by different sectors. So Anuj here was the member secretary. Both of them have given us a fantastic document. See, water, as you know, is highly, highly politically sensitive. It can bring down governments. So pricing is one such thing which he was suggesting. But the Bureau has been initiated with the mandate of nudging people towards water efficient behavior. Now, there are 3 sectors basically which we are looking at: agriculture, industry, and domestic. It is highly measurable, like our irrigation projects are working at a 30 to 35% project efficiency, which if, like Franklin said, with drip, with sprinklers, with other, precision irrigation system and Internet of Things, it can easily become 60 to 65% achievable. So what we envision is either through the states, because water is something which the states have to implement. Bureau cannot be an implementing agency, it's a think tank. So, in that sector, we have proposed incentivization if a project efficiency increases to say 65%. Like I had gone to PMO for a meeting on green credit. So we in the Bureau, we were talking about blue credit and water credit, but they said be aligned with the green credit. So there are many things, like Easily measurable is, as Professor Ramesh Chandra said, water positive industries with zero liquid discharge. These are easily measurable dam safety improvements, then irrigation project, low flow fixtures in domestic households, dry use of drier systems in thermal industries and nuclear industries, which produces water, which uses water for production of energy. So one is the sectoral approach, which we are going to approach through incentivization and not through force and not through regulation initially. Because after the debacle of, the farm laws, we know that how political water can get. And as bureaucrats, we cannot think like academicians in a vacuum. Technology is always for the people. People cannot be for technology. So, many people come to me with, I have this system, that system, maybe, but, the people have to accept that system. So anything which comes to us, abito it was going to the task force, they are still in the process of completing the report, we've advised them. Then we are going for newer lexicons, like Professor Ramesh Chand said, that behavior change has to come about. For that, we are going to incentivize, like blue labeling. People will not buy if suppose an air conditioner is not blue labeled, if it uses more water, if your washing machine. So a system of blue labeling of products, protocols for, efficiencies of various fixtures, of how much, So like LED bulb was not so famous, but now all of us are investing in LED, even though it's costlier because of that behavior change. Then we are going for water footprint with agriculture. We are thinking of one coffee, if I tell you one cup of tea is uses 75 liter of water production, and coffee 165, then it has to be an informed choice by the consumer to go in for tea. Or if we say that your cheese comes out of, I forget how many liters, then that kind of mindset change is what the Bureau is going to do. It is going to be not so subtle, but also subtle, and it'll take time. So right now it is in the process of evaluation of his task force report, water audit, home audit, because people will not demand something if they don't find it profitable. So if we say that if you audit your home for water, and if you make your green, there's a mandate that all of you must not be following. More than 100 square feet of area in Delhi has to have a rainwater harvesting structure. It's a Delhi Jal Board mandate. But I don't even know if this building has. So, these kind of things that slowly pushing people, because looking at the sensitivity of water, because, I was just reading a book by Brahma Chelani, Asia's next battlefront will be water because of, so we have to be very, very, sensitive to people's because my mother says, पानी के लिए पे क्या क्यों करते हैं, ये तो अजीब बात है, पंप करते थे. So we have to, so these are new lexicons, introduction of lexicons, water footprint, water audit, blue label, water credit. Green jobs. Like 3 out of 4 of the 150 world workforce is either heavily or moderately dependent on water. So these are the things. So Bureau Water Use Efficiency, and our next game changer is the Jal Shakti Kendra, which we are trying to make like the Krishi Vigyan Kendra as a one-stop solution in the districts. I'm happy to report 655 out of 765 districts have formed the Kendra, though it's in all kinds of, various kinds of, progression, with some being very good. So these are the 2 major, apart from water harvesting structures, which are more than 1 crore now, excluding the Amrit Sarovars. We have 1 crore water harvesting structure, which according to the PM, has been our greatest achievement, that the way to counter climate change is water conservation. And there are, I will not agree with Professor Ramesh Chand and say that all these measures post 2019 has led to increase in the groundwater table for the first time. It has led to decrease in the number of blocks as per the CGWB report, which were water stressed. So it's not that things are not happening in the ground, it's just that we are not publicizing much, so I'm doing that. Thank you.
At one point, I mean, as here, because water is definitely as an entry point for adaptation and building resilience, but I think we have to stress more also on water as a mitigator. So how best water management can lead to mitigation? Thank you.
And thing is, when we talk of climate change, you know, we are always made an adjunct to the environment ministry. If I was the secretary, I would have protested. As water, you go with forest, go with agriculture. Jabki water should have been the center of climate change action. Lekin nahi hai.
Okay, thank you so much for this answer. It's interesting. Once I was sitting on a panel myself, and I was asked whether India might need another green revolution. And what I'm learning is there's a blue revolution, or maybe a blue evolution already happening. Because maybe not as radical as a revolution. But wonderful. Thank you so much, dear panelists, for your valued perspectives. I think we are running out of time. That's why I would like to ask our chair to kindly give us the closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay. So friends, we have seen Ola has conducted this panel discussion very ably, and what is more creditable is that he is able to complete it within time, which these days is becoming a very scarce commodity. We have heard three very eminent panelists, the biggest user of water, and one who governs water and augment water and manage water in so many ways, and one coming from science field, which provide us with the solution to problem faced by humanity. But I briefly gather from what has been said. Lot of things has been said, but I will share with you some of the important takeaways from this panel presentation. I will not call it discussion. One is that no doubt India has made laudable progress on food front. In fact, if you look after 1970, per capita food production has doubled in India. Per capita food production has doubled, and that is not a mean achievement for such a large population. But the fact remains that we have sacrificed long run for the short run, and it is there that we need to have a balance. It is not that we need to not use water. Water is something which need to be used. It is not like mineral that it is exhaustible resources. And water is also a resource whose plenty can cause more damage than its scarcity. In our childhood, we used to listen a story that once some saint came to some village and villager did not treat him properly. So at the end, the saints in the traditional story were known either to bless or to curse. So that saint, he decided to curse that village, and he told them, I am going to curse you, but you choose which curse you want. One curse is, you will not have any rain for 12 years, drought for 12 years. The second option or curse is that 12 hours of rain. What do you choose? The wise man chooses 12 years drought, not 12 hours rain. So this speaks of that how much, if you don't manage water, how much dangerous it can be. Well, things are changing. I do not mean that recently things are not changing. Even recasting of irrigation scheme under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana is showing its impact. As I said briefly, that during 20 years before, say, 2015, we spent thousands of crores of rupees on public irrigation. but area under public irrigation did not increase. These are the statistics published. But simply recasting of the scheme, addressing last mile connectivity, etc., you just see reverse. That area under irrigation increased from 46 or 47% to 53%. Every year 1% increase. So how you manage the resource, how you manage your investment made a lot of difference. And recent year we are seeing that some change is already happening. And institutional issues are also very important. Some of the states, especially those states which are water scarce. In fact, best use of water is found only in the water scarce countries and water scarce areas. Israel, they are so much water stressed, we have nothing. And you look at the water productivity, even land productivity there. Similarly, Maharashtra, it has only 18% of the area under irrigation. But you look at the amount of fruit and vegetable which they are producing. And the state where there is 98% area under irrigation does not have highest land productivity. Let me share that number with you. You can refer to my paper, it is on NITI site. The highest productivity you will find is elsewhere. Even Andhra Pradesh grows at 6% with highest crop productivity and less than 50% area under irrigation. So management of resources very, very important for getting optimum results. Of course, water should not be handled as a water alone. Water has very strong nexus with climate change, with agriculture, with the environment, biodiversity, many other ecological functions. So it needs to be considered in all its interaction and facets. And I also, at the end, I just want to say that how much water goes into production of food depend upon two factors, and both are equally important. One is nature of product, and second is method of production. So if you just as a consumer, no, meat, 1 kg of meat involves 800 liters of water, so I will not consume meat. That's not the way. There are ways to produce meat which involve only 400 liters of water. Like I gave example of rice, that we are using 4,000 liters of water, but it is possible to have same productivity with using 1,000 liters of water to produce 1 kg. So it depends on both the things, nature of the product and also method of production. And finally, I end with, but Archana ji very nicely said that we can live without love, but not without water. But I would say that we cannot live without loving water.
Okay, I think that's the end of this panel. Thank you very much, dear panelists, dear chairperson. And where's Pooja? Ah, here you are. Okay. Thank you. Are we going down? Or? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Oh.
Thank you very much, our distinguished guest. The presentation indeed reminds us of the urgent need for us to work together on this critical issue. So now, moving forward, we have a very interesting session for you. We will be talking about solutions from the drought-prone area of India, Bundelkhand. We have with us the Jal Sahelis, the women water warriors, and they are accompanied by Dr. Sanjay Singh, Secretary, Parmat Samaj Sevi Sansthan, who is also known as the Waterman of Bundelkhand. So before we start this knowledge sharing session, I would kindly request you to watch a small video on the Jal Sahelis.
पानी को मुश्किल जाती कि 2 किलोमीटर में जाते थे हम पानी भरने।
लाइन लगा के पानी भरना पड़ता था।
वो इतना बड़ा घूंघट निकाल के लाते थे।
नाम मेरा इमारती है, एक मैं जल सहेली हूँ। इतनी दूर से पानी ले आते तो हमारा एक आधा दिन पूरा बर्बाद हो जाता, तो पानी में हमें सबसे ज़्यादा समस्या पहला पानी की थी। हमने पहला हम पानी की दूर करें, इसके बाद हम कछु करें। हमने कि हम उल्टो काम बेकार करें तो हम डरें, अच्छो करें तो हम नहीं डरें। तो वे मारवें पीटवें धौंसें देवें, लेकिन दीदी हम हो रहे हमने जो काम तो हम कर कह रहे, अगर तुम कुछ भी कर लो।
अब खूब गेहूँ होने लगे, फसल हो भी होने लगी, अपने पशु पानी पीने लगे और अपने आवा जावा कोई डर भेद कोई अलग सब हाँ टेंशन ख़त्म हो गई।
पानी को लेकर अब कोई समस्या नहीं है गांव में, समस्या का हल हो गया पानी का।
जो डर है तो हमें ज़्यादा, तो वो हमारा डर दूर होगा।
We have amongst us Ms. Neelam, Ms. Manjulata today, who would be sharing more on their experience of working as a Jal Saheli. And so may I please request Dr. Sanjay Singh, Ms. Manjulata and Ms. Neelam to kindly come on stage, and also my dear colleague Parvinder, who is going to moderate this session from WFP.
Good evening, friends, and this will be a bilingual session, and it will be more in a conversation format. So first, I will introduce the whole conversation backdrop to our colleagues who have come. So, नीलम जी, आपका बहुत-बहुत स्वागत, और आपके साथ शायद मंजू भी सोनू आने वाले थे, मोनो आने वाले थे. So there were three Jan Sahelis who were supposed to be here, but there are also mothers who have home to manage. And one of the Sahelis' son met with a small accident, a play accident, has broken the front teeth. I think a lot of us have done that when we were young. So she couldn't come. The tagline for the World Food Day this time has three components: water is life, water is food, and leave no one behind. I think we are at a stage in this conversation, the event, where we are going to connect water is life and leave no one behind. The experiences of Bundelkhand, for those who are not familiar with the region, it has the longest documented drought. And I remember So it's a very nice kind of a surprise that Sanjay, as a young man, was a friend of mine because I was working with ActionAid and he was starting this organization. I'm meeting him today at a stage where the Women in Blue, the Blue Brigade, now will be also showcased in a celluloid version. There is a film, a mainstream film being made called Blue Diamond. So the story that started, Boond, yes, Blue Diamond, Boond, Blue Diamond, Boond is drop of water. And I will be asking few questions just to prod, conversation, but I really hope that, you've shown a lot of patience for the high-level discussion that we have, the Policy Connect, but here is the lived reality of a community which is not just suffering because of shortage of water, but they actually have found solutions, and the solutions are being discussed globally. I will shift into Hindi, and I'm really sorry if some of you don't understand everything. I wanted to share something about Neelam ji. When Sanjay was out working, at a stage where we were trying to highlight drought in Bundelkhand through all lenses, the migration, closed doors, animals without, people around running, all kinds of things, visuals on the ground, he met Neelam. And Neelam was really agitated. And her pointed response to Sanjay's question is that, why are you upset? She said, there is no water, and it's like fire here. But the bigger problem is that if women were the ones who were deciding how water has to be managed, because Bundelkhand is not, the crisis in Bundelkhand is not new. It has been drought prone for generations. The change that happened is that the traditional coping mechanisms eroded over a period of time. The irrigation canals, the traditional system, all went off. And Neelam's comment, I think, started Dr. Sanjay Singh on a journey wherein he started mobilizing women. So I will quickly request. So Neelam ji, पहले आपसे मैं सवाल पूछता हूँ. आप यहाँ पे जब आए तो आपने दिल्ली में कई सारी भाषा या कई सारे संवाद आपने देखे होंगे, लोगों ने आपस में बातचीत की होगी. तो जैन सहेली जो हैं, उनका जो काम करने का तरीका है, जिस तरह से वो जो पानी के मुद्दे को उस कॉन्वर्सेशन से जोड़ रहे हैं, जहां महिलाएं जो हैं वो गवर्नेंस की बात कर रहे हैं, आपने पानी पंचायत बनाई हुई है, और आप लोग खुद मिला के 5000 पेड़ आपने उगाए हैं और करीब 500 घरों को आपने पानी पहुंचाया है. तो आप थोड़ा सा हम लोगों से साझा करिए कि क्या जर्नी रही और क्या मुख्य मुद्दे हैं, आप आगे क्या देखती हैं. आपको लगता है कि जो बदलाव आप लोगों ने देखा है बुंदेलखंड में, जहाँ पे कम्युनिटी साथ में काम कर रही है, उसका असर हुआ है, और वो और जगहों पे जब आप जाती हैं तो लोग उससे कैसे जुड़ते हैं?
बस बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर. सभी को नमस्ते. मेरा नाम नीलम झा है और मैं उस क्षेत्र से हूँ जिसे बुंदेलखंड कहते हैं. वैसे तो मैं बहुत सौभाग्यशाली हूँ कि मैं बुंदेलखंड जैसे स्थान पे पैदा हुई हूँ, और मुझे आज ये भी काम करने का मौका मिला है कि इतनी सारी जल सहेलियों के साथ में मिलके कुछ हमारे जीवन पे भी बदलाव ला सक रहे हैं और दूसरों को भी थोड़ा सा उनके जीवन में भी थोड़ा सा बदलाव कर सक रहे हैं. तो इस तरीके से हम कुछ महिलाओं में, कुछ अपने गांव में, कुछ अपने खेती में कुछ चेंजिंग, मतलब कुछ बदलाव आ रहा है. तो उस चीज़ को मैं अपनी भाषा में ही बताना चाहूँगी. सॉरी, मैं इंग्लिश नहीं बोल पाती हूँ, सो उसके लिए सॉरी. हमारे बुंदेलखंड में मैं एक छोटे से गांव से हूँ. मेरे गांव का नाम है दुर्गापुर. तो वहाँ पे पानी की काफ़ी समस्या थी. लगभग 1 किलोमीटर दूरी से हम लोगों को पानी लेने जाना पड़ता था. मैं झांसी से थी पहले, पर मेरी शादी गांव में हुई, तो मुझे उस टाइम पे मतलब वो सब देख के बहुत अजीब सा लगता था कि कितनी दूरी से सिर पर इतना बड़ा बड़ा घड़ा लेके आना, तो बहुत, और इतना लंबा घूंघट करके निकलना, बहुत ही मतलब दिक्कत आता था कि कैसे क्या करते हैं. अचानक में एक दिन ऐसे ही ग्रुप में बैठे बैठे सोच रहे थे कि क्या करना चाहिए, तो परमार्थ समाज सेवी संस्था से मेरी एक मुलाकात हुई.
2018 में। तो मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगी डॉक्टर संजय सर जी का, जिन्होंने मुझे मतलब मार्गदर्शन दिया कि हम इस लड़ाई से जूझने में सफल हो सके। तो उनके मार्गदर्शन से हम लोगों ने पाइपलाइन डलवाया, जिससे 45 घर तक पानी पहुंचा सकने में सफल हुए, और आज हर घर में पानी आ रहा है, जो हमारे ही प्रयास से आ रहा है। हम लोगों की जो समिति है जल सहेलियों की, उसके प्रयास से आज हमने 45 से 50 घर तक पानी पहुंचा पाया। जब हमको मालूम पड़ा कि पौधे क्यों लगाना चाहिए, इसकी क्यों आवश्यकता है, मेड़ पे, खेत पे मेड़, और गांव का पानी गांव में, खेत का पानी खेत में, जब हमें इसके बारे में जानकारी मिली तो हमने खेतों पे भी प्रयास किया, पेड़ पौधे लगाए। आज मैंने 5 से 6 हज़ार के बीच में पौधे लगाए हुए हैं, और अच्छा हमारा गांव हरा भरा है। और किसानियों में भी जैसे कम पानी वाली फसल का हम लोग उपयोग करने के लिए जागरूक करते हैं सभी लोगों को, और काफ़ी हद तक हम लोग सफल हो रहे हैं, जिससे और क्या कहते हैं कि खेत में भी जो किसान हमारे पहले ज़्यादा पानी वाली फसल का प्रयोग करते थे, आज वो हम लोगों की समिति के द्वारा कम पानी वाली फसल का प्रयोग कर रहे हैं। तो ऐसे अगर हम लोग सभी इस तरीके की कमेटी बना के, और हर गांव में एक जल सहेली समिति बना के अगर हम इसको और आगे बढ़ाना चाहें, तो शायद हम पूरे भारत को भी जल संकट मुक्त कर सकते हैं। जैसा कि अभी तक हम लोगों ने चेक डैम भी कई मरम्मत करवाए हैं, तो हमारे जो बबीना ब्लॉक के क्षेत्र है, तो वहाँ पे भी हम लोगों ने कम से कम 15 गांव में ये समस्या का निवारण कर चुके हैं। तो उसके लिए मैं परमात्मा का और डॉक्टर संजय सर जी का काफ़ी धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगी हृदय से, कि जो हम आज अपनी बात को यहाँ तक पहुँचाने में सफल हुए। धन्यवाद।
So I'll just quickly translate this for those who do not understand Hindi. But Neelam apologized for not being able to speak in English, and I think they were listening to us all through while we were talking in English. So Neelam ji, हमारी तरफ से भी माफ़ी कि हम कई सारी चीज़ें ऐसे बोल रहे थे जो शायद आप समझ नहीं पाए. और the point that she made was largely about how the journey of reviving traditional water systems and integrating women, their empowerment journey within that has made a big difference. That's been a big part of it. I think the conversations were, largely about community ownership. They were also about mobilization. And Neelam did talk about how her being out and taking charge of some of the engagements that were happening with Parmarth has also led to women stepping out of the house and becoming in charge of the resource management or water management. Most importantly, I think what Sanjay was sharing with me earlier is that there is a way women can plot, because the burden of moving water, and especially in places which are drought prone and scarce, they actually get scolded and reprimanded by men of the house if they don't get water, and they don't know how to overcome that, because water is not something that they can produce. So a lot of it is also, I think, the collective identity. They think they're on a mission, and being able to see changes within the community and drive the community towards water security and water equity is something that Neelam and Parmarth have been able to achieve. And अब मैं आपसे गुजारिश करूँगा, आप अपनी कहानी भी बताइए, और ये ज़रूर बताइए कि क्या क्या दिक्कतें आई. ये सफ़र आसान नहीं रहा होगा, और उनको आपने सारी औरतों ने और आपके व्यक्तिगत जो एक्सपीरियंस है उससे आपने कैसे जूझे, तो वो जो समस्याएं थी और आप उनसे आगे कैसे निकले.
धन्यवाद. बहुत सही आपने प्रश्न पूछा है, क्योंकि हम महिलाओं को इस चीज़ से बहुत ज़्यादा गुजरना पड़ता है, खासकर गांव की महिलाओं को, क्योंकि उनकी ज़िंदगी सिर्फ घर तक सीमित रहती है, और ऐसी स्थिति में बाहर निकलकर काम करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. तो हम लोगों का ये सफ़र बहुत ही मुश्किल से रहा है, क्योंकि ऐसे परिवार में जहाँ पढ़े लिखे नहीं हैं और इसी तरह के गांव में हम लोग पैदा हुए हैं, बुंदेलखंड। हमें बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि हम इस बुंदेलखंड की बस धरती पर पैदा हुए हैं, लेकिन कुछ हमारी भी गलतियां हैं जिसकी वजह से हमें ये चीज़ झेलनी पड़ रही है, या इसको कहिए कि हमारी वजह से ऐसे दिन आ गए कि आज हम इस पानी के संकट से गुजर रहे हैं। तो हम लोगों ने इसको सही करने के लिए जल सहेली का संगठन बनाया और पानी पंचायत बनाई। फिर उसके बाद पानी पंचायत के साथ मिलकर हम लोगों ने अपने गांव में पानी के ऊपर काम करना शुरू किया। हम लोगों ने पहले क्या हुआ कि जैसे पानी का, बरसात का पानी जो हम लोगों का होता था, वो जो तालाब हैं, चेक डैम हैं, उनमें रुकता ही नहीं था, सारा बह के वापस चला जाता था और पूरी खेती खराब होने लगती थी, तो लोग खेती नहीं कर पाते थे। तो हम लोगों ने सबसे पहले तो सारी जल सहेलियों ने मिलकर चेक डैम का निर्माण दोबारा से किया, जो टूट चुके थे उनको दोबारा से हम लोगों ने बनाने की कोशिश पूरी करी। और जो तालाब थे जो कि पूरे बंद हो चुके थे, पानी उसका ख़त्म हो गया था, उसको साफ किया। दोबारा से जब बरसात हुई तो उसमें पानी इकट्ठा हुआ और उसकी हम लोगों ने तालाब के चारों तरफ उसको बंद करा, जिससे उसका पानी कहीं जा ना पाए, और नहर के जरिए उसको निकालने के लिए हम लोगों ने रास्ता किया, जिससे वो खेतों में ना पानी जा सके और लोग खेती कर सकें। तो चेक डैम से लोगों की खेती दोबारा से शुरू हो गई और कोशिश ये करी कि जो पानी है वो कम लगे ऐसी खेती करी जाए, क्योंकि एकदम से हम ऐसी खेती करें जिसमें पानी बहुत ज़्यादा लगेगा तो हमारे ही लिए नुकसान है। तो लोगों ने धान की जगह मूंगफली का उत्पादन दोबारा चालू करा, जिससे उसमें पानी क्या है कि ज़मीन में नमी बनी रहे तो मूंगफली हो जाती है। उसको उन लोगों ने पैदा किया, उसके बाद उसको उन्होंने बेचा और अपने जीवन को दोबारा से शुरू किया और इससे उनके जीवन में काफ़ी बदलाव आया। और इसी तरह से जो पलायन होता जा रहा था धीरे धीरे शहरों की तरफ, गांव के लोग जब खेती खराब हो रही थी तो लोग शहर की तरफ भाग रहे थे, इससे बहुत ही ज़्यादा घर चलाने में लोगों को तकलीफ होने लगी, क्योंकि हमारा एक कृषि प्रधान देश है। हम ये चाहते हैं कि हमारी खेती हमारे ही लोग करें और इसी को उत्पाद करके दूसरों तक पहुंचाएं, यही हमारी कोशिश है। और पानी जब तक हम बचा के नहीं चलेंगे, हमारी खेती खराब होती जाएगी और हमारा देश कृषि प्रधान देश नहीं कहलाएगा। और इसके लिए हम जल सहेलियाँ ही नहीं, मैं ये चाहती हूँ कि इसमें सभी साथ दें तो वो ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा। जंगलों को काटना, फैक्ट्रियों को बनाने से ज़्यादा अच्छा है खेती के ऊपर जोर दें, क्योंकि अगर सभी जंगल और ख़त्म हो जाएंगे, फैक्ट्रियां लग जाएंगी, तो खेती कौन करेगा और कहाँ से खाएंगे, कैसे जिएंगे। हम लोगों की पूरी यही कोशिश रहती है, क्योंकि मैं गांव से हूँ तो मेरा तो जीवन सिर्फ उसी में गुजरा है कि खेती के ज़रिए ही कमाया करा है और उसी के सहारे जीते आए हैं। तो मैं अपनी गांव की खेती को और अपने आसपास के सारे गांव की खेत को बचाने के लिए पूरी कोशिश करते हैं और लोगों को अच्छे सुझाव देने की कि आप इस तरह से खेती करिए तो पानी की बचत होगी और हमारा जो देश है खेती से भरपूर बना रहेगा, तो हरा भरा रहेगा और हमारा जीवन भी अच्छा चलेगा। धन्यवाद।
Dhanyawad, Manju ji. I'll be very brief. Manju did a great job of connecting the dots that we constantly try and explore. Right before she ended the first part of response, where I asked her about the challenges that they might have encountered in this journey, she actually took this opportunity to pitch the fact that what they're doing is essentially something that needs to be replicated. Everybody has a role. And at a time when farming is not seen as a profession where younger generation wants to be in, she pointedly said that they take pride in the fact that they grow food, and that food sustains the nation, and the fact that they have been farmers for generation, and they had to move away from it. There was migration, there was distress, abandoning of farming because there wasn't water. And she said they're very happy that they've been able to bring it back. Couple of changes that they made, and that's again shows the foresight that the community has once they start taking decisions by themselves, is they've shifted what they used to grow. They've moved from rice to groundnut. And they've also started looking at using less water intensive. Professor Chand pointed out about how the production process itself, how we produce, is a big question that needs to be addressed. So she did talk about that. And so thank you, Manjuji. Now I will shift to Sanjay. So Sanjay, I don't, really need to give you a question. I'm sure you have your talking points in your mind already. Couple of things that I wanted to you to highlight is the conversation about how water, because you have lived in that area, and I saw, 2 decades back how deeply disturbed you were about the distress that entire, Bundelkhand region, especially Jhansi and others, witnessed. So if you could share a little bit about how water is life transformation has been in last 2 to 3 decades since, Parmath has been working. And with Jal Sahelis, I think the way they have evolved, they are more than just community champions. I think they are sitting here in the UN house, We the People's House, and they're engaging on something which is now the World Food Day theme. But for them, it has been a theme which saw them through their entire struggle. So over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Parvinder ji. First of all, I have been sincerely apology during the journey. So both Jal Sahelis discussed me कि you will speak in Hindi. So I will try to speak Hindi or in bilingual. So I will try to in Hindi and English. तो मैं सबसे पहले तो ये कहना चाहूँगा कि वैसे तो ये केस स्टडी है और हम धन्यवाद देना चाहेंगे कि FAO को कि ये मंच दिया, लेकिन मैं कुछ बहुत ही ज्वलंत मुद्दे आप सबके सामने, पहले तो मैं रियली प्रोफेसर चंद्रा सर को जो मैंने आज सुना और जितना गहराई से उन्होंने बोला और जितनी डेप्थ थी उस डिस्कशन में, वो मेरे आंखों के सामने वो अपना इलाका पूरा घूम रहा था। दुनिया के परिवेश में अगर हम देखें, यहाँ पे कोई मैं ऐसी चर्चा नहीं करूँगा क्योंकि आप सब यहाँ बहुत ही विद्वान लोग बैठे हैं कि मैं ये डेटा और आंकड़ा आपको बताऊँ, लेकिन मैं कुछ प्रैक्टिकल बात बताऊँ। मैं उस इलाके में पैदा हुआ। वैसे देश में बहुत सारे इलाके सूखाग्रस्त और जल संकटग्रस्त हैं, लेकिन एक बुंदेलखंड अपने आप में एक अपवाद है कि जो पिछले लंबे समय से सूखा और ड्राउट लाइक सिचुएशन एंड ऑल्सो मतलब हाईली इफेक्टेड बाय क्लाइमेट चेंज। जैसे अभी 15 के बाद अगर हम कहें सूखा नहीं है, लेकिन हर साल एक फसल खराब होती, चाहे रबी की फसल खराब हो या खरीफ की फसल खराब हो, हर साल खराब होती। और वो एक पूरा इलाका, एक दोनों राज्यों को अगर हम मिला लें, 14 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं, 2 करोड़ की आबादी का एक इलाका है, लेकिन जिस तरह से एक संकटग्रस्त इलाका। हमने क्या किया, हम इतना बताना चाहते हैं कि हम जब ये ड्राउट की सिचुएशन और जब नीति आयोग के पहले जब योजना आयोग था और जब पैकेज आया, तो उसके पहले के तमाम सारे डिस्कशंस और ये सारी चीज़ें करने के बीच में लोगों के साथ बात करते हुए यहाँ तक जो पहुँचने की बात है वो ये कि हमारे इलाके में जितना पीने के पानी की ज़रूरत है उतने ही मुझे लगता है कि दुनिया में जो एक बहुत ही अच्छा यहाँ पे लिखा है कि वाटर फॉर फूड का कंसेप्ट जो हमारी इन जल सहेलियों ने, पहले तो मैं ये बता दूं कि ये जल सहेलियाँ ना किसी NGO का हिस्सा हैं, एक भी पैसा नहीं लेती हैं। इनका कैडर जो है कम से कम 500 गांव में है, और आपको मैं ये सबको रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगा कि इनका आके काम देखिए, बिना किसी पैसे के, बिना किसी व्यक्तिगत लाभ के। आज जो माँ जल सहेली थी वो अपनी बेटी को भी जल सहेली बनाने की तरफ इंटरेस्टेड है, क्योंकि एक ये सस्टेनेबल मॉडल है, ये किसी एक प्रोजेक्ट का हिस्सा नहीं कि 4 साल चलाओ 4 साल। हमने जब शुरुआत करी थी 2011 में और आज हम 2023 में हैं, आज हम 500 से ज़्यादा गांव में हो गए हैं। इन लोगों का खुद का लक्ष्य है। हमारे बगल में जो नीलम बहन बैठी है, 100 से अधिक जल सहेलियाँ इन्होंने बनाई। और जल सहेली का जो 3 कंसेप्ट है, एक तो वाटर लिटरेसी इनका बहुत, इनकी जो पानी पाठशाला है उस पूरी पानी पाठशाला का जो पाठ्यक्रम है वो पूरा खेती और पानी और उसके ऊपर आजीविका के ऊपर आधारित है। दूसरा ये है कि इनका जो ये विलेज वाटर सिक्योरिटी प्लान है उसमें पूरी तरह से जो अभी हम लोगों ने बात करी उसमें वाटर बजट के साथ वाटर ऑडिट जैसे सवाल हैं। गांव में अब अगर इनसे पूछने जाओ, अभी कुछ दिन पहले GIZ के लोग गए, इनसे पूछा उन्होंने कि वाटर बजट क्या है, इतने अच्छे से उन्होंने एक्सप्लेन किया, तो उनके जो लीड थे वो बड़े आश्चर्यजनक ढंग से पूछने लगे, अरे ये कैसे संभव है, अटल भूजल में तो हमने बहुत जगह देखा, नहीं हो पाया। मैंने कहा ये सब बड़ी बात नहीं, बात ये लोग सीखने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। तो ये पानी का बजट से लेके वो सारी चीजें कर रहे हैं। तीसरी बड़ी बात ये कि प्रैक्टिसेस बहुत कर रहे हैं, संसाधन नहीं। इनका जो एक बड़ा इनिशिएटिव है वो है श्रमदान। ये श्रमदान के माध्यम से छोटे छोटे चेक डैम और चंदेलकालीन तालाबों में इन्होंने, क्योंकि एक तालाब को बनाने के लिए करोड़ रुपए चाहिए, ना तो हमारे पास है ना इनके पास है, उतने सारे पैसे बिल्कुल नहीं। इन्होंने क्या किया कि उनमें जो आने वाले पानी के रास्ते थे, जो कहीं पे रुके हुए थे, उनको खोलने में जो सफलता हासिल की। आप हमारे यहाँ जो तालाब हैं चंदेलकालीन या बुंदेली, उनके 100 एकर्स, मतलब इतने बड़े बड़े ह्यूज टैंक्स जिनको हम कह सकते हैं, उन टैंक्स के और उन टैंक्स के सबका एक कैचमेंट है उनका, सबके साथ साथ फिर एक पूरा कैनाल सिस्टम है, और कैनाल सिस्टम का जो है कमांड एरिया है। उस तरह के पूरे इलाके को ठीक करने के साथ साथ, और वो इन्होंने जो पानी की मिट्टी, पानी और बीज, कैसे ये बीज कम पानी के हो सकते हैं जो इनको लगाने की तरफ ले जा सकते हैं, उस दिशा में ना केवल पीने के पानी, आज हमारे इन जल सहेलियों के कारण 200 से अधिक गांव को हम वाटर सरप्लस विलेज बना चुके हैं और जल संपन्न गांव की तरफ ले जाने में सफल हुए हैं। तो इस तरह से इनका जो काम करने का काम है, और जहां एक तरफ खेती और खेती के साथ साथ उसके साथ और बागवानी के साथ साथ एलाइड एक्टिविटीज में भी इन लोगों ने बहुत मेहनत के साथ काम किया है और फसल के पूरे सिस्टम को बदलने की कोशिश करी है। आज आप देख सकते हैं कि पिछले साल गेहूं में, जैसे हम प्रोफेसर सर ने कहा कि पूरे इल्ड पे बड़ा असर हुआ, हमारे यहाँ पिछले समय में एक ही बड़ी दिक्कत हुई कि मध्य प्रदेश का जो बुंदेलखंड है पूरा गेहूं में शिफ्ट हो गया, क्योंकि गेहूं लोगों को एक लगता है कि बहुत ही सुरक्षित खेती है और लोगों को इल्ड मिल जाती, लेकिन तापमान बढ़ा उसका उत्पादन। लेकिन इन लोगों ने पिछले साल पूरे बुंदेलखंड में सबसे ज्यादा लोगों ने सरसों लगाई। सरसों इसलिए लगाई कि एक पानी में हो जाती। तो इस तरह की जो प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, क्योंकि ये इनको पता है, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ सबको पता है कि सब सरफेस में ही वाटर है। 40-50 फीट का जो पानी है तालाब का, उसका सीधा कनेक्शन है, तालाब में पानी है तो कुएं में पानी है, कुएं में पानी है तो वो हैंडपंप भी उसी से चलते हैं। अभी जल जीवन मिशन का जो पानी आ रहा है वो सरफेस वाटर से, नदियों से, इनसे उठा के, लेकिन जो इनकी डिपेंडेंसी है वो सब सरफेस वाटर पे है। तो सब सरफेस वाटर के मैनेजमेंट के लिहाज से खेती और पीने के पानी दोनों के बीच में जो सामंजस्य बनाने का काम है, और मतलब वो ऐसे इतने टका पानी इसके लिए चाहिए, इतने टका पानी इसके लिए चाहिए, और वो उस तरह के जो पाठ्यक्रम है, मैं चाहूंगा कि मैं आप सबको, और नीति आयोग के बहुत सारे साथी गए भी हैं, उन्होंने हमारे उन कामों को देखा, और मैं सर आपको स्पेशली इनवाइट करना चाहूंगा कि क्योंकि और जितने लोग हैं ऑडियंस में, ऑल द हाउस आई हैव इनवाइटेड टू सी द जल सहेली एफर्ट्स इन बुंदेलखंड रीजन। तो आप अगर आएंगे, देखेंगे और उसके हिसाब से समझने की कोशिश करेंगे। तो मैं यहाँ पे ये कहूं कि मैंने कोई बड़ा चमत्कार किया, लेकिन ये भारत के लिहाज से कि वुमेन इन वाटर और वाटर इन एग्रीकल्चर, ये एक पूरा एक जिसको नेक्सस कह सकते हैं, वो बनाने की कोशिश करी है और उसके परिणाम दिख रहे हैं। और इन्होंने जो अपनी बात में नहीं कहा, मैं आखिरी बात कह रहा हूं कि हमारा जो फोकस है वो ट्रेडिशनल वाटर बॉडीज के साथ साथ छोटी नदियों को जिंदा करने का। उस बुंदेलखंड जैसे जल संकट ग्रस्त इलाके में 4 मरी हुई नदियों को हमने जिंदा किया है। अभी हाल में ही 1 महीने पहले प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अपने ट्विटर से जिसको पूरा सा इंट्रोड्यूस किया, और तमाम सारे अवार्ड्स और वो सारी चीजें तो छोड़िए, लेकिन ये सिलसिला लगातार जारी है। और हमारा ये है कि ये पूरा इतना बड़ा इलाका, और ये पूरी तरह से जिसको कहा जाए कि बिंद रेंज का एक तराई इलाका और वो जल संकट ग्रस्त इलाका, इससे कैसे जल संपन्न बनाया जाए, इसी दिशा में निरंतर हम और हमारी जल सहेलियां अग्रसर हैं। धन्यवाद।
I don't think his passion needs a translation. You saw how quickly and how passionately Sanjay talked about it. I think 3 things that he pointed out. One is, of course, the whole effort that has gone into creating an integrated understanding led by women of reviving, of shifting behavior change, and also building from whatever was there. And the spirit of volunteerism through which they work. You would have realized that they're not paid, they're not part of an NGO payroll or are supported by that. It's completely driven by the voluntary labor that's provided by them, and they're now codifying, if I'm not wrong, the water budgeting and also, yeah, water audit. Sorry, budgeting would be the wrong word. Water audit. All right. So all of it, and the curriculum that they have developed, they have water schools through which it's all happening. So I suppose that's a very clear example. Professor Chand was saying that we can't leave it just to the government, and I think a lot of it is also about going back to communities and finding ways to solve it. So if you have any questions for them, we are happy to take it. There is a phrase, I don't know how many of you have studied NCERT books, Jal Hi Jeevan Hai. I think before the tagline came in, we've always had in this country reference to water as life, and life being dependent on water completely. So if there are any questions, please ask. Yeah. I think we went from 32,000 feet to the grassroots too fast, too soon. If you, I think just thank you. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका आने का यहाँ के लिए, और आप मोनू को बोलिएगा कि हमने उनको मिस किया, और उनके बच्चे के बारे में भी खबर दीजिएगा जब वो ठीक हो जाएं, और आप बेहतरीन काम कर रहे हैं, और यहाँ आने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया.
May I please request the dignitaries to kindly come on stage? Thank you so much, dear guest and the dignitaries. So now we are coming to the last segment of the evening. We have some videos for you, which has been prepared by all the three Rome-based agencies, FAO, IFAD, and WFP. These videos are on the innovative approaches that these organizations have undertaken to address the issue of water for food and nutrition security in India.
Indian agriculture is predominantly rain dependent, with at least 60% of the country's net sown area relying on rains. These areas support 40% of the country's total food production, but are extremely vulnerable because of their poor capacity to deal with extreme weather shocks.
వాతావరణము ఎప్పుడైనా వర్షాలు పడతాయి, ఎప్పుడైనా ఎండలు కాస్తాయి. వాతావరణం అనుకూలంగా
Ms. Nozomi Hashimoto, Deputy Country Director of the World Food Programme, to kindly grace us with a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming together for this World Food Day celebration today. I would like to thank all the esteemed guests. I'm not going to repeat everybody's names, but it was really an informative and comprehensive keynote speech, followed by a panel discussion, which was very much comprehensive, and then, lined up all the issues from the policy level to the mindset change of the consumers and the grassroots works that needs to be done. I learned a lot personally, so thank you very much. And not to mention, thank you very much for the ladies and Sanjay for coming all the way from Uttar Pradesh to share your journey and your passion about how you have been addressing your challenges. We were truly inspired. And last but not least, thank you very much for our sister agencies, the Rome-based agencies team, for putting together this event together. Since this is a World Food Day, we cannot conclude this event without having a good food. So I understand that there is a dinner prepared for further networking and communications at the Nima Loan. Everybody is more than welcome to join this networking dinner. Thank you very much once again, and wish you all have a very nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all our dear guests, and may I kindly request you to proceed to Neem's lawn for the networking dinner, and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much.